Can you kind of talk about just your general process about when someone hires you for a working?
It's usually like it's a whole thing because right off the bat, we have to do a consultation. I got to talk about what you want done because I wish it was so simple. I need a love spell because it's like, okay, what kind? What's the situation? What's going on? Am I even allowed to do this? So normally you'll sit down for like a 15-minute. We'll dig into the whole meat and potatoes of your situation. We'll pull cards. We'll check in with your spirit team. We'll make sure everything has the go ahead. And then once everything's good, then I start building out what kind of spell we're going to do, price it out based on how much time that's going to take me. And then we just kind of get into it. Now, a lot of people with spells, we have so many spell books in here, and a lot of people love to follow spell books, and I think that's great. And I think you should, especially when you're first getting started. But the deeper you get into the craft and the more you start to practice, could be wrong, but I believe you should start to experiment like a little bit more. Because there's so much untapped potential in making your own spells, and that doesn't mean that you shouldn't take inspiration. The amount of times I read through a spell book and I'm like, oh, this is a really good idea. So, for example, like one of my favorite glamour spells to do is a riff off of a money spell that I found in a book when I was like 14. And I've just tweaked it slightly to make it work more for what I'm looking for. And that's kind of the open end about it. I think in a weird way, spells are like, they're like those math equations that your teachers made you do, where it was like a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and you have to plug it in. Spells, unless we're talking high ceremonial 18th century magic, spells don't have to be this do it this way and only at this time. A lot of times you can read something and be like, oh, if I tweak that, or oh, if I swap rosemary for hibiscus, and if I change the incantation a little bit, but I keep the same idea, I keep the bones of the spell, you can build something really interesting. So this is a protection spell that we're working on right now. This one is mainly based off of three separate things. So right off the bat, these two candles here are going to be in charge of transmutating energy. So anything negative that gets sent, this candle is going to eat up most of it. And anything that this candle can't get eaten up is going to go into this candle, and this candle is going to transmutate it. Now, the point of transmutation, I'd recommend not getting yourself too involved in transmutation unless you have like a year or two under your belt at minimum. Because the point of transmutation is welcoming in and taking in the energy that is being sent to you. And you have to know how to rework it and neutralize it and turn it into something else before you let that in. Because otherwise you're just opening the door to a fight and you're going to get whacked with it. So the whole point of transmutation, at least in this type of magic, is to basically to cut an intentional hole into our protections so that some of that malintent that people have sent to us can come through. Now, if we go back to physics, one of the most basic understandings is that, energy, matter, it can't be created or destroyed. It just changes. That is the founding principle of what we're doing here. So you can send your negativity. That's fine. Give me 15 minutes and a few things with it, and I'll have it neutralized back to just normal, regular, old energy. And from there, we'll turn it into something else. Now, this candle, like I said, is directed at the transmutation process. It's really important when you do transmutation to be really specific about what you want to turn it into. You want to put this energy to good use, because even if you just neutralize it and don't do anything with it, now it's just in your space and it's taking up space. So this purpose for today is to take that negativity, neutralize it, and then transmutate it into a little bit of money. Because if you're going to try to ruin our day, you should at least line our pockets. So I'm going to finish up the sigil here. Now, I'm not going to show you the process about it because that's how it gets worked backwards, but I am working on it. You can see I'm going to be doing something similar to what's over here. This is an entirely different sigil. I'm also going to carve probably a similar thing on the candle. Feel free to rough up these types of candles when you're doing this type of thing, because we don't like these people, right? They don't need eyeballs. Why do they need that? They're annoying. You want this to serve as a sort of poppet, not completely, but a little bit. Now, what this candle is going to do, the whole purpose of this is to neutralize and confuse whoever is sending anything. Now, this is specifically targeted at people that know what they're doing. This is not going to deal with people who can't keep our names out of their mouths. This is not going to deal with people who like to talk shit. This is dealing with people who are sitting down and taking time out of their day to try to fuck up ours. So the whole purpose of this is to confuse, discombobulate, and send back. I'm gonna put some herbs in the head. It's to cause discomfort. It's to cause guilt, nightmares, bad luck, anything and everything from the minor nuisance to the actual problem until whatever they've sent, they rescind. Now, like I said, they can keep sending as much as they want because with these candles, they can keep doing it if they want. It's just going to keep making us money and giving them problems. But this is how you stack spells. And then finally over here, this lovely thing is a replica of a cow's tongue. So for people who are a little squeamish and maybe don't have it in them to go down to the butcher and ask for the real thing, you can get a candle to kind of work yourself down the middle road with that. Now, these types of spells are specifically used to make people shut up, to put it lightly, to stop gossip, to stop bullshit. Something that can help a lot in helping you understand spirituality is, weirdly enough, a little bit of an Occam's razor moment. Ask yourself, what do you think this thing is for? And then sit and think about it. You'll probably get your answer. Like, if I'm using a spell, why would I need a tongue? What do tongues do? They flap, they wag, and that's what we want to slow down. You know, when you're working with certain herbs, if you were to ask yourself, why am I putting chili powder in this spell to make someone uncomfortable? Well, what does chili powder do in the wild? It protects the plant by making people uncomfortable, by inducing a sense of pain. It's protection, and it's protection via discomfort. It's an aggressive protection. So if I'm using chili powder in a spell, you can assume I'm probably looking to get a similar type of end result.
Well, I see you have a cauldron lit next to, the 3 different parts of the working here. Mm-hmm. So can you tell us what the point of the cauldron is?
So that works as like a secondary battery for me, basically. So, when I'm doing these while I'm here, it's kind of hard to do possibly multiple spells in a day and then still do readings and still be able to drive home at the end of the day. So this is a really easy way to share the energy with everything else. So the herbs on all the candles go in there, and then this is just going to go ahead and burn, and it is a constant fuel, is a constant energy source. It's burning at the same frequency and the same vibration as the rest of the spell, and you'll see me pretty commonly throughout the spell grab energy from it and just make my way across the spells. A lot of times I'll have a hand here and I'm pulling and pushing and using this in kind of like a symbiotic relationship. One of the ways that I can tell if it's working, how much energy I'm taking, is how much heat am I feeling off of my hands in the moment. Obviously, closer, further, I should be feeling different things. The fact that I'm here and it's warm, but I'm not in pain, anything like that, is a good sign. It means I'm absorbing most of the energy. Now, again, please practice fire safety, right? Move quickly. Another reason I'm not getting burned is because I'm also moving fast. So respect fire as an element. Understand that he does not like to be touched. So work with that. Don't be afraid of fire, but respect what it's capable of. It is the grand transmutator. It is creator and destroyer. And it will do whatever the fuck it feels like once you are not containing it and once you're not actively working with it. Awesome. So make sure that you're focusing it, make sure that you're using it, make sure that everything's working in that direction and you're totally fine.
So Sam, when you add more herbs like throughout a working, is it just intuitively you feel like drawn to a certain herb to add again, or based on how the flames are looking, do you add more
Sometimes
stuff?
It's a mix of divination. Other time, like just straight fire divination. Mm-hmm. Other times it's an overall vibe for the spell of what's needed and where it needs a little bit of an extra oomph and an extra boost. Because sometimes I'll notice the plants I need to reuse are just plants I don't have a strong enough relationship with yet, like as a spirit. So like they're happy to help, but I almost need to like remind them to keep paying attention to the spell and to like keep giving it their energy. Whereas plants that I have a really strong bond with, like nettle, like lemon, like honeysuckle, all of those, like rue, rosemary, those are all plants I've built a really, really strong long-term bond with. Mm-hmm. So I usually don't feel the need to add them very frequently once I've already added them, unless I want to go a little bit overkill. So right now it's mostly ones that I'm like, oh, I feel like the spell needs to be reminded of this energy in this moment. Or other times, like with Dragon's Blood is always going to give something more punch or a little bit more energy. And I like to add it whenever I feel like the spell's energy is getting complacent, I think is probably a good way to describe it. Not even so much low, just I want more.
So, Sam, I see you just added an herb to the top of this candle.
Yeah, right in the dome.
Right. So that's poppy seed, right? So can you tell us a little bit about poppy and how that could be intentional for a working like?
So, baneful witches, left-hand path practitioners, justice workers, anybody who throws any type of magic with a little bit of kick, love poppy seeds. For a handful of reasons. Think about poppies, think about opium, think about all of the effects of it. The high, according to people from the Victorian era, is great. And like, it makes a lot of sense that it has all these really wonderful qualities about it. But more than that, opium is deadly in high qualities. It causes disorientation, delirium, it's addictive. It destroyed so many people's lives. It still does, when we look at the opium crisis going on right now. Opium is something that can start out very sweet, and it tends to punish and take more than it gives. And, putting opium in something like this, putting poppy seeds in something like this, it tends to, one, lull that person into a sense of false security. Think like Dorothy in the poppy field. If someone is actively sending things our way, they're probably, hopefully, protecting themselves in response. This will start to maybe make them feel like they don't have to do that, like they can relax a little bit. It lowers guard, and then once guard has been lowered, poppy seeds are known to cause delirium, confusion, disturbed sensations, nightmares, guilt, panic, confusion. Poppy seeds are very disorientating. So they're a good thing to pop in the mouth or in the head of a candle, depending on what you're gonna do. I had a client who was taking somebody to court, and he was a pathological liar. So I filled his mouth with poppy seeds before she went to court, and apparently that guy could not make any sense when he was trying to talk on the stand. It was word vomit, the lies weren't, she's like, I've never seen him lie so poorly. And like, yeah, poppy seeds in the mouth will do that. Poppy seeds in the head tend to cause, like I said, that confusion, that disorientation, which should mess up their spell casting. And also, with the right intention, poppy seeds will cause nightmares, especially related to whatever is going on. Personally, if I was doing a spell and then I had a bunch of nightmares after doing it and I had headaches and everything else, before I assume somebody's hitting back, I might think the spell backfired. I might think it's rebounding. I might think that I'm being told to call it off or not do it, and then I'll call it off and not do it. So poppy seeds are a great way. Use them carefully, because just like opium, it can get out of control. So be careful with it, and make sure that you're being incredibly intentful, and make sure that you're being very clear with what you want the poppy seeds to do. A lot of these spells that you're seeing here, the only one here that I would classify as beginner friendly is this one right here. Everything else here is a little bit more of an intermediate spell, because some of the stuff I'm working with, if it's not kept under a tight leash, is going to get a mind of its own, and it's going to go do whatever the hell it wants, and then this might be a little bigger than we intend for it to be. So poppy seeds are great, just be specific, have intention.
So we're more than an hour into this working. It seems like it's wrapping up. So what is your walk away from this working?
You can already see where I've gotten started. So once there's basically nothing left and it's just the wick, I do like to smother them. I do like to put them out to fully snuff and put the energy to bed. Now, what you smother with is really going to depend on what you're looking for. I did salt because I just want this over with. So everybody got a nice salt covering to put the fire out. Now I'm just going to let this dry. Now, once this dries, the next step to the process is reading the wax. There's a lot of symbols and messages and things to know inside of it. Sometimes I'll flip it, get it out of the silver plate, read the bottom. There's a lot to be told in here. So I'm going to read the wax. Once I get everything I need to know out of that, I'm going to cleanse it to neutralize everything, take out anything that can't go back to the earth because it's either bad for the animals or it's stuff that can be reused. And then anything that can go back is going to get buried in a quite literal putting this to rest process. These guys are going to burn down the rest of the way over the course of the next couple of days. Myself and my coworkers are going to just tend to them and keep them fed. This one's just going to burn until it's done.
there's probably going to be more to see in the wax and in the smoke and in the fire and in the whole cleaning up process, but that's the boring part.
Thank you so much.
Thank